early 1997 sequel Jurassic Park, 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And today we're here to start the new week with minute 73 of The Lost World. David, last week we thought we topped ourselves with about an hour 40 with discussion on The Lost World with Jurassic. Last week we talked about a couple of 2-minute trailers and managed to get close to the same time frame. But we're here now, a week on, and the trailer's come and gone. How do you still feel about the trailer? Are you still hyped, still excited?
Yeah, you could say that. It's probably one of my most anticipated movies of 2018.
Yep.
Definitely looking forward to it a lot more than Solo, the Star Wars story. If only because, I mean, even though Ron Howard's directing that one, it's just been muddled with so much kind of, I don't know, drama behind the scenes that it's kind of killed my mood for it.
Yep.
Plus, I was never really big on the guy they casted to be Han Solo. But then again, I always knew nobody would replace Harrison Ford for me.
Oh, no.
And so it was always something that I was never really anticipating it. And Fallen Kingdom, I never really felt the need to anticipate it. But now I really do anticipate it.
Yeah. And we can, for those interested in the Star Wars discussion, look after the end credits for further talk.
Careful. This suit costs more than your education.
Story is everything. And I think that's kind of going to be the key to bringing this all back together. The key to Fallen Kingdom. They've already revealed that the island's getting blown up. Their whole marketing scheme is based on that. So you know the ending, you know the end scheme to get these dinosaurs off the island. What will be key here is telling a story worthy enough to fulfill that.
Yeah.
And we actually haven't discussed the final act here. But Bayona did do a bunch of rewrites with the final act. I believe I saw a picture of Bayona directing somebody on off stage, and you saw this book of the script, and like the last third act was all yellow pages, which I believe marked rewrites.
Yeah.
So as far as we know, Bayona really took the third act and made it his own.
Yeah.
Where they went from mainland to island, and then they're going to the mainland again.
It's just there's a leak of the plot that came out several months ago, and just as it read, I wasn't excited. Now the trailer's come out again. If you haven't seen the trailer, if you're staying completely spoiler free, just skip until the start of the minute. But having the island destroyed at the halfway point, where we've had the trailer destruction, the explorer destruction. Oh, where's the half point in Jurassic Park 3? The end of the lab, maybe? No, Avery, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to think on that. I'd have to watch, because they don't have that midpoint attack.
No, and because it's so much shorter as well, it's sort of, you think about the middle of the film, which would be around the lab, which in earlier script was a lot larger scene. They stayed overnight in the lab, and it would have been a bigger scene. Not so much destruction scene, but a bigger scene. But and listening to some podcasts during the week of non-fans, mainly just movie critics and that reviewing the trailers, and just it seems that the first movie played on nostalgia a lot, and now and here in this trailer we've got the T-Rex doing the exact same pose from the original film. Yes, she's not in the visitor center, she's out in the open, and the shot's reversed, like she's pointing to the left and not the right, or something. But it's just how much they're continuing to push the nostalgia beat. Now, fair enough, you can almost guarantee that the majority of the box office for Jurassic World was nostalgia. People watch the first film, they wanted to see the parking operation. Here we go, we're doing it. They showed 10 minutes of the parking operation at the start, then a lot of behind the scenes and the IREX escaping. I'm still interested in execution. As you said before, the story, what actually happens. Okay, we've seen now the island's destroyed, and then we go off island. I hope there's something there that builds to part 3. One thing that's sort of Jurassic Park was built to be, or made to be standalone, and then Crichton wrote The Lost World, and Spielberg adapted it and kept adapted it. So that was the second part, and then again it was without fiction. Crichton sort of penned something, and then someone came in and overtook him, and then it was all thrown out before they filmed for Jurassic Park 3. But it's just sort of interesting that those films weren't built to be a trilogy. It was one film, it's done well, let's make another one, it's done well-ish, and then we'll make a third one, and then it's sort of, okay, and we've had 14-year gap. Jurassic, or Colin went to Universal with the plot and idea for Jurassic World and then the sequels. It's all written out. Now, what's edited or whatever else in amongst that, that's for production to know. We will never know that unless someone behind the scenes comes out and reveals it and gets fired for it. But Colin's got a story for 3 films. The first film was the park in operation. I wish we'd seen more of that park in operation, but I don't think we can go back to that now unless we get a flashback. Part 2 is moving away from the park and moving to the mainland, and I just hope that there's some part. Wu being evacuated from the island, Jurassic World was to show that, okay, we're going off island. Now we've seen the trail that the island's getting destroyed, and I hope that there's something. I just hope there's a decent story to be told about animals on the mainland. Malcolm sort of hints during his inquiry or whatever that courtroom scene is that if we're not careful, dinosaurs will be here after us as well, which, as we said during that review last week, that maybe it's hinting at whether it's DX, whether it's just mass population growth, whatever it is about animals inhabiting the mainlands. Yeah, I'd love a War for the Planet, or like a Planet of the Apes style for dinosaurs, but I don't. It's like Dino Crisis. I don't think you can stretch it from the Jurassic franchise. It's its own thing. As much as I'd like to see it, I don't. There's some leaps. You got to do anyway.
Anyway, I think going back to the nostalgia thing, it's interesting that in 2015, the 2 biggest films, The Force Awakens and Jurassic World, both hinged almost to the point of a crutch on nostalgia.
Yeah.
Now, Jurassic World got away with it. The Force Awakens not so much. And then I think that it's interesting that, from a lot of fans' point of view, that, and spoiler alert a little bit, that Episode 8 is going to be a bit of a mind screw. This is what I've heard. Nobody will tell me anything, and that's good. But they've told me that it's a heavy film and leaves you wanting, but in a good way, kind of like Empire Strikes Back. But then I think about Fallen Kingdom, and I think, yes, it's doing the nostalgia thing. Yes, it's doing what Episode 8 is, and kind of messing with and kind of hinging on the second movie of the trilogy. But I think that Fallen Kingdom is going to depend a lot, is going to, again, be like The Last Jedi and be a bit of a mind screw for fans. It's going to pull a lot of unsuspected punches. But I also think that it's going to use nostalgia better than it's going to use Jurassic World did. Jurassic World was too much. It was, even Spielberg acknowledged and said that he had to tell Colin Trevorrow, all right, enough of nostalgia, make your movie. Don't make my movie. And so,
yeah,
I think that Kingdom is going to not use so much as nostalgia, but it's going to be one for the fans. It's already had Carnotaurus, it's already had a darker theme, it's already had a bunch of stuff that fans have wanted. Baryonyx, a mainland plot, animatronics, even, has had a lot of the stuff that fans asked for after Jurassic World. And Bayona sounds like he's listening to the fans on this one. So I think it's going to actually turn out better than Jurassic World in terms of nostalgia baiting, if only because it's not going to use that nostalgia as a crutch.
Yeah, that's it. And that's... you only got to look at the comparisons between the Jurassic World trailer, the first trailer compared to the Jurassic Park trailer, where you had established shots, tour vehicles with the gyrospheres and everything else. It's interesting you say that Spielberg's told the owners hold back. I wonder if that's Spielberg or Colin or what it is there. But then one other comparison, lastly, before Fallen Kingdom and Episode 8 is Episode 8. You've got not Han. You've got Luke. You've got Leia coming back as the old cast. Whether or not there's other old cast coming back as well, you'd assume that R2 and C-3PO are going to be in it doing something, even if it's just one shot. But as far as we know, it's only Malcolm coming back for that brief scene.
I will say that that's the only one confirmed, but there is a rumor going around that Sam Neill was spotted around the set at some point.
Yeah, well, we know he was at Hawaii when they were finishing filming, because we had that I think someone was in the tour group or something and asked him what he wanted to do, and he said he wanted a Jurassic tour or something.
No, somebody offered him the Jurassic tour.
Oh, okay.
And he said that he just kind of looked at him like, I've done the Jurassic tour twice.
Oh yeah, Jurassic Park 3, there was shots on Hawaii, okay. So yeah, definitely. But that's even leading to Thor Ragnarok, and we're all over the place here, I'm sorry folks. Going into Thor Ragnarok, Hugo Weaving was seen on set in Sydney, visiting some people he knew there, and when I seen it, I thought, oh okay, so Red Skull might be making a reappearance in Ragnarok before Infinity War. That turns out not to be the case. That's not a spoiler. Someone's not in a film. Nah, that's alright. Yeah. So, it's just, like, people visit sets all the time.
Exactly.
I've seen one suggestion how it could be to see maybe Ellie and Alan in the stalls behind Malcolm in that courtroom scene. Not have him...
I can see that too. There is a dark-skinned woman standing at the door behind Malcolm. And it would be cool if that was supposed to be Kelly Malcolm, even if it's not played by Vanessa Lee Chester.
It's been 20 years. She could be in the film.
I know. I mean, and I gotta admit, okay, just as a guy here, Vanessa Lee Chester turned into a very beautiful woman.
Yeah, yep. But that's the thing, like, even Billy Brennan going from an early 20s, mid-20s person to a mid-40s in a time, like... And we talked about it at the start of the minute as well, like, forgetting her name, but Kathy Bowman being sort of in the start of the Lost World, where she's old enough now to be a character, or an adult character in one of the follow-up films, but...
That is interesting. I'm not sure if I mentioned it when we did the trailer breakdown, but I have not seen, besides Lucy, I don't think we're getting kids on the island again. That's another thing fans asked for. They said, okay, we're kind of sick of kids getting trapped on the island. And I don't think we have young adults. We have maybe late teens at most, youngest, but I don't think we have kids going to the island this time.
Well, there hasn't been a single shot of Lucy on island.
No.
We had that couple of shots from the behind the scenes stuff of her in the mansion, which we're assuming is mainland. But there's nothing. There doesn't appear to be anything else on island now. We sort of speculated when we first heard about the character that maybe she was and the gyrospheres as well. Maybe she was a left behind guest. They've all evacuated and left this poor girl behind, and now they've got to go back to get her. But as we can see, this is a long time after. There's no one hiding out Robin Crusoe on the island, as far as we know anyway, so... which was one sort of drop point from Jurassic Park 3 as well, but I wouldn't mind. But then that's again like sort of, okay, well, we're back on the island, someone survived, someone's living in this lost world and all that. They want to take the story, they want to take the franchise beyond that, so...
Now, you brought up that, is there a story worth telling on the mainland? And honestly, I do think there is. Crichton went there twice. In both books, he went... he kind of skirted mainland, dinosaurs on the mainland. And it sounds like something that he always wanted to tell, but he got sick of Jurassic Park and he just didn't want to deal with it anymore. He didn't want to write a third book. But that sounds like something he wanted to go to, but could never quite fit it in the story.
Yeah.
In Jurassic Park, we had the compies on the mainland going through villages, picking through garbage, picking through babies. It was a morbid scene. I had to bring it up.
Yep.
We'll probably never see it on screen, but it's out there. It exists.
Oh, don't say never. Don't say never. We've got another film to go.
That's true. And then we almost got raptors on the mainland. And then there was supposedly, at the end of the book, they kind of hinted at like large herbivores on the mainland.
Yep.
Going through, like raiding soybean villages and eating lysine-rich supplement food.
And migrating north towards America. Yeah.
And then in The Lost World is brought up as well as the aberrant forms that were washing up on the beach and being destroyed by the Costa Rican government.
Yep. Which and again, it was that whole progression of life can't be contained. It's trying to break out away from these tiny little islands. Whether it's migration, currents taking dead forms to the mainland, or live animals getting off onto the beaches of Costa Rica. That's how it was progressing. And then, as you said, Crichton might have had some ideas for Jurassic Park 3. I'd love to know what those ideas were and how, if any of them arrived in the final scene. Maybe the only thing from Crichton that made into that final film was the pterosaurs leaving the island at the end. Say what you will about that scene. So
there does seem to be kind of hints to a story there. Then I think that if it's fleshed out well enough, it can be told.
Yep, agreed. But we've got a couple of months. We should get another trailer in February for Super Bowl. I'd assume 30% of that or 40% of that would be stuff we've already seen. I can see him pushing that run trail a little bit more. So.
You like to have kids, but you just don't want to be with them, do you?
It's so important to your future that you not finish that sentence.
All right, ready to get into 73.
Sure.
As we entered minute 72 of The Lost World, Dieter was walking around the forest, lost, hopelessly lost, yet he didn't want to fire his weapon. As we open on minute 73, he calls out to Carter one more time, and to Roland, before falling down an embankment. He tumbles all the way down to the creek bed, losing his rifle and his shock prod in the meantime, landing in a cloud of dust and coughing hard. At 72 minutes and 21 seconds we start to hear scattering in the underbrush, and Dieter slowly lifts his head and looks left, then right. We then get a camera view with several small objects rushing towards him. At 72 minutes and 28 seconds we cut to a shot from above as Dieter lays on the ground and several compies jump onto his back and start to attack him. At 72 minutes and 34 seconds Dieter stands, compies are hanging off his chest, one has his neck and he pulls it off violently. At 72 minutes and 50 seconds we cut to one that's gripped his face. After pulling a couple off his body, this last one has his lip, and he fights with it to let go. He manages to pull it free and throw it to the ground. And as we end the minute, the other compies on his body jump free and run down the creek bed a short distance to a fallen log, where they hop and chirp happily, impatient to their prey and his soon demise.
So, after 2 weeks, Dieter's still lost in the forest. He seems to be following a path along the side of some redwoods, and he sort of stops at a patch of ferns. It's interesting here, you can sort of see past him, and you can see the treetops of the canopy past him, so it definitely looks like there's a drop away here, and he's clearly looking towards where he's about to stand, and yells out, "Hey, Roland." And then as he yells, "Hey, Carter," he takes a step forward into those ferns, and there's no ground there. He tumbles forward.
Yep, his gun gets lost on a branch there on the side, and he just keeps on rolling. Which is interesting. I mean, you see when you go to Front Canyon and you see the side of the hill, I mean, Yeah, there's a bit of a drop there. It's probably, I don't know, at as high as 30 feet.
Yep.
But, I mean, it makes it look like the drop's way taller. Just the way that it's edited here. So almost like an Odessa steps kind of thing. Where even though there's only 5 steps there, they edit it in a way to make it look like 100.
Yeah, that's it. There's 5 or 6 different cuts here where he's fallen and stops, and every time the cut finishes and starts again, he seems to be in a different position. The camera's in a different position, just to, yeah, as you said, make it look more of a 5 meter gap into a 50 meter gap. And that's most apparent, I think, at the very end, where he sort of comes down to the creek bed and lands on his back, and then it suddenly cuts and he lands on his front a little bit further out on the stones and sort of coughs in the dust.
Yeah, it looks like he kind of just keeps rolling from the edge of the hill into the creek. And honestly, I kind of wonder if there was a. I know there was a drought, but I'm not sure how bad it was. Because when I went to Fern Canyon, I mean, you get your feet wet, you get your boots wet.
Yep.
And so there's like no chance for dust to form whatsoever.
Well, even when we get here a little bit more, and maybe more so into minute 74, the creek or the stream doesn't really appear to be flowing. It just seems to be just the water's there. There's not enough for it to flow from one pool into the next. If it does in some section, it does. But I've taken falls before in the dirt, and coughing and getting a mouthful of dust is really really annoying. So
I hate that.
I definitely get what he's feeling here, and just the fact that he's sort of tumbled down here, his ribs are bruised and battered. He doesn't realise at the moment, but yes, his rifle got stuck up towards the top of the hill. We never see what happens to that shock prod, so I wonder. It's laying in the Ford's fern somewhere, but
That's true.
he coughs in the dust a couple of times and looks up sharply, and you can sort of hear a rustling noise, and he looks left and right, and that creepy compy score kicks in. I think it's like a violin or something.
Strings.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sound like like some kind of string instrument just being struck really hard and quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just trying to
When I was
build.
a kid, I never quite got what they were doing with the shot, but it's a montage shot where they just keep showing the compies coming up to them from different directions.
Yeah, I'm glad the minute didn't end in between this. We get to see the whole thing because, we get a couple of real nice low shots as a couple of cameras come racing in towards him. Not meant to be one after the other, it's sort of all at the same time. And then we get a nice shot above him as the compies sort of arrive on the scene and jump on his back and start attacking.
Yeah.
Which
And
is
it's interesting. I was watching just for the heck of it, I was watching the behind the scenes for the Lost World. Got bored the other night, and they showed one of the photos is that when they did this, ILM called them land piranhas, but to get the position for ILM to show off how many compies they would have jumping on them all at once, they used a bunch of toy dinosaurs. And so it's interesting. You get the shot here of Peter Stormare just laying in the dirt with toy dinosaurs surrounding him all over the place.
That's awesome, because we'll get in a minute of what actually happened here with the vest and that, but it's just great. I don't know, like he's wearing. Oh no, the vest come off, so he's wearing his shirt, maybe an undergarment, a singlet or something underneath. I don't think the compy's claws are sharp enough to get in, but maybe just the fact that they can hang on to his shirt and clothing and sort of bury their muzzles into his flesh.
Well, that's certainly a possibility. I mean, you ever have a kitten climbing on you? I mean, they can just climb straight up you.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's it. And you might not always feel the claws digging in, but you'll definitely feel when they go to bite and bite at you.
Oh, yeah.
Those little needle teeth bastards.
And people don't realize it, but I mean, sure, the jaw is smaller, and it doesn't provide as much pressure per ounce or pressure per inch or whatever you want to use. But those teeth are sharp, and they're like needle sharp. I had a small dog growing up, and if she bit you, I mean, I still got scars on my hand.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
Yep. Yep. No, but we sort of the camera drops down here as Dieter's thrashing and rolling on the ground trying to get the animals off him, and then we cut to him on his feet and we see several hanging off his shirt. And there's one on his wait a minute, let me do his left that he's got in his hand, and I always dub this one as the compy with the flip top head from the old Colgate commercials. I don't know if you got them over there.
Don't think so.
No. Well, the commercial was, unless you've got a flip top head, you need a certain toothbrush because you can't open your mouth that wide. But this comp is sort of, its entire mouth is open and against his neck. It's not biting. It's just, it's weird. It's one of the rubber puppets they use. There's a couple here.
Yeah.
And I suppose we can go into the vest itself here. They actually made a vest Peter Stormare could wear, where you've got all these rod puppets attached to it, and they could just pull the strings or pull the rods to make the necks and the heads sort of move around violently, and then the whole tail sort of just moved with the movement of the character.
Yeah.
And Peter actually said to Stan Winston, I think we should have one on my lip, or as we see here, biting his lip, and I want to grab it and rip it off, but Stan was saying, no, they're too delicate to do that. We can't. And they actually made... Now, I don't know if it was just a resin... Well, it wouldn't have been resin. It would have been like a latex cast compy. They could paint up and just sort of put the mouth on his lip with the fake blood and have him pull it away.
I think it was like a latex rubber, they called it.
Yeah. So any time you see Dieter actually forcibly grabbing a compy and pulling at it, it's the rubber puppet. It's not the actual the animatronic or the rod puppet, because they can't. As we've seen back when Eddie was kicking at the T-Rex mouth, they're delicate. Although they're big animatronics, they're somewhat delicate.
Yeah, it's kind of the odd combination of, yes, they are deadly, yes, they will hurt you or maybe even kill you in the T-Rex's case, but you still got to be careful with them.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And we get a couple of cutscenes here. We got there's a couple on his arm as well. Again, all physical, all sort of the little compy puppets made to attach to his clothing. That it was just a suit he wore, and it's a really good transition here from where he grabs the one off his mouth and pulls it, and I'm guessing taking a little bit of his lip with it in film anyway. He grabs another one by the neck and tries to pull it away and sort of yells out, "Hey, Carter," again. And then as he sort of pulls one or two off, we get a cut back shot of him standing in the creek, and they all sort of... It's just that real nice blend of animatronics or puppets back into CG where they all hop off him and scamper along. And we cut to see him sort of running up the stream a few yards and jump up onto a fallen bit of timber across the stream, and they just sit there and hop and chirp.
Not even scared of them.
No.
No.
And
you're food. You're going to be food, and we know it.
Yeah, and we can probably...
Everybody knows it, you just don't know it.
And we'll definitely get into a couple of future minutes where whether or not their bite is poisonous, here, definitely of them just hopping and chirping and happy as can be, it sort of further proves the point that, yep, we know we've attacked him, we've drawn blood, we've just got to wait now. And see and wait for the prey to fall. In film, it's not portrayed that way. Dieter's sort of had a win here, and we see in a minute where he sort of just looks at the blood on his hand and God, what the hell just happened? But
starts swearing, and I think it was Swedish.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was going to ask that in the next minute, whether it's Swedish or Russian or something. But yeah, that's the end of this minute anyway.
I do like that when the compies are attacking him and he grabs one by the neck, it kind of makes this strangled crowing sound, almost like you're choking a chicken.
Yeah, yep. Well, that's it. How tight can you grip the neck of this little beast that's attacking you? And that the puppet, they must have had at least one rod in it controlling the jaw, because its little heads sort of thrashing about, mouth open. But then again, just the sound effects, the Foley work, and this is fantastic.
Of course, the snarling that you can hear, it's really great. I love the compies.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's minute 73, Dave. Anything else you want to bring up before we get out of here?
No, I think we filled that out very nicely.
All right, guys, let's get the hell out of here.
Contact details are on the website, thelostworldminute.com. You can email feedback to thelostworldminute@gmail.com, Facebook, The Lost World Minute, Twitter @thelostworldminute, and Instagram, The Lost World Minute.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, very easy to remember. Right. David, thank you for joining me for this record.
You're welcome.
And we'll be back. I've been Brad.
I'm Dave.
And we'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
It is absolutely imperative that we work with the Costa Rican Department of Biological Preserves to establish a set of rules for the preservation and isolation of that island. These creatures require our absence to survive, not our help. And if we could only step aside and trust in nature, life will find a way.
Well, that's one souvenir that won't be taken with them.
I just recently, 5 minutes ago, finished watching Rogue One, and it's another one of those things. It doesn't really need, the story doesn't need to be told. It's like Titanic. You know what the outcome is. You know how it ends, but it's the progression of the characters through the story. Like, I think one thing it proved amongst anything else is the fact that they could create new characters and have you completely fall in love with some of those characters. And it just sort of says, right, they can do this. I'd love to see what they can do with other stories. And yes, even with Solo, which is the Han Solo, I was not going to say biopic, but prequel or something. Yeah. Like, it is one of the characters. More so than the Death Star, even though the Death Star's been in nearly every room. But just the world, if they can create the world around Han, and his shitty little ship that can fly real fast, I'm all there. I'm all there for it. And as you said before about sort of the production issues going into it, we had sort of similar stuff going into Jurassic Park 3. Now, I do not expect this to be on the same level as Jurassic Park 3 because that happened back then. But there was the same issues with Rogue One where there was issues with production and everything else, and even recently with Justice League, there was the same sort of issues. And coming from fans that actually like the series, there's some praise and there's some criticisms, and that's we're at the point now where there's so much story behind universes and everything else. I even see it every day in the Transformers series. 35 years of Transformers, and how do you tell one story? You can't, the production crew can't tell one specific story when you've got so much intermingling between the universes. So, I understand that, okay, we don't need to see Han, we don't need to see the Castle Run, we don't need to see that. But I'm sure, and there's hope in the production crew, that that's going to be good to see on screen. So, like Rogue One, all the stuff on Scarif, as soon as they arrive at Scarif, I'm well and truly hooked. Like, some of that jungle stuff, and it might be my love of the Lost World that's sort of bringing into that as well. But even though it's really just palm trees and not jungle, but just the stuff that happens in space around Scarif, just all that, I just absolutely love. And it's not really pulling the nostalgia stuff as much as Episode 7 did, story-wise, anyway. But
I will have to say that the main difference I would see that between Rogue One and Solo is that Rogue One just had like reshoots just to make it a little bit less depressing. I guess is the word to say, because the original cut was actually a bit darker than what we got with the final cut.
And that would be interesting to see because it gets pretty dark at points as well. But
I know.
Not
That's
to...
what I mean. I mean, so I think that the initial cut would be an interesting release for Disney to make, just to not only make money, but because I would, as a fan, would be interested in seeing that alternate cut. Ron Howard redid like 80% of the movies. It's basically his movie now.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. Have you seen episode 8?
Not yet. Don't spoil it for me.
No. I'm just saying that's all right. We can talk about that at a later stage when we do see it.
Yeah.
Maybe next week I'll get a chance to see it.
I'm seeing it Monday. Me and my dad are going.
Okay. No, all good. I was just going to sort of going forward as to storytelling and that how much it's going to tie in. Because getting back to the Lost World, back to Fallen Kingdom.
I also did want to point out though that story. What you pointed out is story is important. Rogue One did prove that even though, if like Titanic, spoiler alert, the ship sinks. He didn't know that story is everything in those kind of movies. Just like when Spielberg directed Lincoln, you knew the ending. You knew. Spoiler alert: Abraham Lincoln gets shot at the end of the movie. You don't actually see it, but you know that it happens.
Okay, just I full up. Honestly, I have not seen it. Do they actually go to that at the end of the film, or is this implied?
It's more implied.
Okay.
But spoiler alert, yes, Abraham Lincoln does get assassinated.
Okay. It just depends on how far the director wants to go. Like, in Lincoln, okay, well, you could tell the sort of the rise of him as president and some of his more controversial decisions. You could end the film before it gets that dark. You can sort of just have in closing subtitles before the credits that in Forrest Gump sense 2 weeks ago someone shot that poor man and just and go with that. But
yeah, no, but Lincoln is it actually tells his kind of final days as president and how he passed the 14th, 15th, and 13th Amendments. And how he abolished slavery in that way.
Yep.
It tells like the final days of Abraham Lincoln, and not really so much his career. And it's very good. I would suggest it if you haven't seen it to see it. But yeah,